Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today. Now I wanted to make this video last week when I finished my Earth Guide, but it was so close to survival mode that I wasn't really in that train of thought. I did want to treat this video as a recap of basically over the past year almost, well over a year. I started my guide series back in April 2018, and now we finally finished it, or finally have run the course through of the initial 15 power set guides, even 16 because I did an iconic DPS set. So I wanted to basically just do a recap, a summary, and basically share with you guys what my plans for the future are regarding this series, because most of you guys that are subscribed to this channel may have seen it or come across on it either on the forums or through YouTube searches or through the game being mentioned around this guide series. This guide series was something that's never been done on YouTube. I've been around YouTube for a long time on DC, and I've never seen a creator do this much in one video. Like, there's been tons of people that have covered like the DPS side, there's tons of people that have covered just the support side, but there's no one that's really broken down all the specs, all the rotations, the bugs, what's going on with the supercharges, single target AoE rotations, testing footage rather than just on sparring targets, breaking it down to a power set where anyone can watch this one video and learn what he needs to know about the power set. Because not too many people go on the forums anymore. Nowadays, it's more of a media-driven society where you're going to YouTube initially first to find videos on it and kind of watch people play the footage. Like, if I don't know how to play Celestial, I'll go to YouTube and try to find out, look at Celestial videos and see how people are playing it, rather than going to the forums and reading about how to play Celestial. It's a lot different from reading something as opposed to visual aids. So basically, we get into the playlist here. The DCUO guides were basically started off as the controller power sets, so these are going back to early 2018, and then basically we work our way up. I even threw in like that iconic DPS rotation, and then we basically just finished it up as Earth. So I wanted to do kind of a recap. We'll touch on some of the analytics of it kind of briefly. So let's see. I'm not even sure what my most viewed one. I think it is the Quantum one. Yeah, so basically sorted by views. The Quantum one came up first. This was, actually no, Mental came up first. That was April 7, 2018. So April 7, 2018 to the day that's uploaded, I think that's 430 days. April 2018 to June 2019. So basically every single month if we go by a date here. So April, May, June, July, August, I think I skipped September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, pretty much every single month for the past year, year and a half, not quite a year and a half, I've been switching powers back to back, switching roles, because I'd never really healed before. That's just something that had an interest me in the game. I never healed until I had to do some of the series. And obviously, as you can tell, most of the videos that I know my channel is monetized now, but it certainly wasn't back then. If we go by date here, the only times I monetized my channel back in beginning of April, so it's only 2 guides since then. As you can see, most of my guides are all copyrighted material because of the songs I use, because at that point I didn't care. But yeah, if we go back to views here, so Quantum is the top there at 53,000. Then we've got 49,000 with Electric, then Gadgets, then Water, Rage, Mental, Light, Munitions, Celestial, Sorcery, Nature. These ones I can see being a bit lower just because these are my newest ones. And then we followed Ice, Atomic, Fire, and Earth just came out a week and a bit ago at 6,400. So I certainly didn't think Quantum... Well, Gadgets is pretty popular, so I can see a lot of people... I certainly didn't see Water being this popular, like my 4th most popular guide, because you don't even really see that many Water DPS or Water players in the game. It's just more of an uncommon power set. Obviously, I knew Rage is going to be up there, but in most of the controller power sets, like Light, Munitions, Mental, Gadgets, Quantum, are all the top viewed ones, which I didn't necessarily see. Most of them, you guys are all being pretty well received. I'm not sure. I can't sort by likes. I think my Atomic one was actually my most disliked. No, Fire was 93. No, Mental. Yeah, so mental, Fire, you guys didn't like. Not that by comparison wise. But no, you guys have shown tons of support, obviously, throughout all the series. You guys have been asking plenty of questions. All the comments are well into the hundreds. Even on the most common one, like Earth just came out, 122 comments already. So you guys are showing the support there, that's for sure. Now, let's kind of touch on where I want to take this. Because if we go back to a date here, I know there's plenty of comments in the comment sections on all my videos say update this guide, or when's this new guide coming out, or redo this. I do plan on touching base on that. I'm not going to do in-depth ones again. I'm basically just going to be touching on the points that need updating, because even if you go back to these earlier guides, yeah, some of the DPS rotations might be not ideal, especially the single target ones, because back then there wasn't a solar amplifier. I think even the gadgets one, I think these 4 or 5, there was only 2 artifact slots. So obviously stuff like that has changed a lot. I think electricity had 3 artifact slots, but maybe, I know certainly these 4 didn't. I don't think gadgets did either, but obviously some things like Soul Amplifier, the Grimorium book artifact, even the Claw for some of the controller ones. So I know there's going to be changes, but even more so, most of the rotations you find in these older videos are still going to be completely current. They may not be the very best. Like certainly I know the gadgets ones are outdated. The Harlot ones are semi-outdated, but they're by no means bad. Like there's no rotations that are trash in here except possibly the gadgets, because that's super outdated. Munitions ones are still perfectly fine. The single target one's not. Quantum one's fine. The single target's not. Mental, I did do an update guide video already, but I'll touch on mental again. Electricity is all perfectly fine. That's the same things I would still use for electricity. Obviously, nature is still by far the best. Nothing has changed rotation-wise there. The water one's still the best. Sorcery, there's a better rotation. Celestial, there was so much talk about what I did wrong with Celestial, but no one really showed me otherwise. I know, obviously, my clipping on the Celestial combos were super terrible because I just, I didn't want to put the time into working with it because I just dislike Celestial. But there's no one that came out and said like, oh, these rotations are way better and like you're trash and these are the ones you should be using. Like no one really, a lot of people said anything, but no one really showed me any proof otherwise. Like if you take a seasoned Celestial player and use my rotations, they're still, half decent. I was still, even with my terrible clipping, I was still getting, mid 30s on the parsers. And I even got a 33k single target parser, and that was back in January of this year, outdated might wise. Obviously, Rage is still going to be really good. Ice is still the best ones there. Atomic is the best ones. Fire and Earth, I believe, are the best ones because those are obviously more current. So there's still plenty of updates needed, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm certainly going to do what I'm going to do is focus on the single target versions because a lot of that stuff is outdated single target wise. So I'm going to be doing kind of a ranking video like how I did on my other video here where I ranked the raids. I do plan on doing something similar to that, but ranking the single target power sets. So I'll be doing a single target rotations for all might and then ranking that. So basically what I want to show is the main difference with these guides and why people feel they're outdated and need updating is because the testing was so widely done with might. So back then with mental, I think I had like 22,000, 24,000 might. And now with Earth, I've got almost 50,000 might. So it's just the wild gap in changes in gear over the past, year and a half, gear-wise. This is what leads to people believing that some are outdated or some aren't as good because they're not tested at the same might values. So I'm going to change that by going on test server. I'm going to be showing all the rotations for the might and the updated versions and then comparing them at the exact same might. So it's a better comparison tool. I plan on doing the same thing for AoE. AoE ones are going to take a little bit longer, getting used to all the new rotations again. But the single target one shouldn't be that bad because I can build off what I've already done. So that'll be the video coming out sooner rather than later. And the AoE ones will be later rather than sooner. And then since I do have a precision set now because of my survival mode, I do plan on doing a precision guide, probably just an overall guide because really there's not too much that changes in precision. Yeah, there's slight variations in rotation, but there's not like a drastic needed for guide. You can do all the precision ones in kind of one video because it's very similar. It's just some power sets like water, gadgets, the pet ones as well. They have different variations, but there's not like a wild difference in precision armors. Because most of the time you're spent in flare shots, it's the time you're not spent in flare shot is where you're losing damage. So that's the plan, guys. I do plan on touching on precision. I plan on doing a single target comparison, a 3-target AoE comparison, rather than doing like the in-depth guides because the support versions, like nothing changes with the controllers. You would have to add like a third artifact like the amulet. That's about the only change, but all the controller ones are still perfectly updated. All the healer ones are still perfectly updated. Nature will use bug form now to proc the Eye of the Gemini cheese. Water's going to use Flood of Power Supercharge. Those are about the only differences in those videos. Sorcerer Healing doesn't change. Celestial Healing didn't change. None of the tanking ones changed at all. So from a support perspective, all these videos are still 100% perfectly fine. The only thing that's going to change slightly is the DPS rotations, and that's what I'll be covering. So thank you guys for this journey. Even though I'm done technically with the 15 power sets in the game, doesn't mean that I'm done putting out guides. You can always keep suggesting ones that you want to see, and I'll be certainly updating them for you guys all. But once again, thanks for the support through this journey, and here's to many more. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching as always.